happened?
All right.
There we go.
Here we are. Hey, what's up? All right. Welcome to another edition of the North Florida High School Football Gridiron Report. Marty, Pallman, Corey Davis. Yeah, this week has been a little weird. So we decided yesterday that Corey, well, he had a lot of work to do. I've been a lot going on this week. So we're coming to you on a Thursday afternoon. I'm a little bit late on that too. My apologies. But we're at home, as you can also see. So hope everyone had a fantastic Thanksgiving. I know I ate a good amount. Corey, I'm sure you did.
I'm sure. Oh yeah, I definitely did.
No, figured as much. So, and we're back to talk high school state FHSAA state championship games. We have some to talk about, plus the Final Four in classes 1A through 7A, the rural state championship game tomorrow night in the Villages, and then we'll look ahead as well a little bit to next week's state championship games in Miami at FIU. But Corey,
we're gonna start with some breaking news.
I need a breaking news, like a breaking news little little thing. We have a game. Oh, we already have a game in the books today.
We do. It just went final not too long ago. Denellen played North Miami Beach in the Class 1A/3A FIT title game. You can't call it a state championship game, but it's a
consolation
game. Denellen scored first. The quarterback Dylan Curry scored on 4th and 5, scored on a 23-yard run to put the Tigers ahead 7-0 with 3 minutes to go in the first quarter. North Miami Beach tied it. John Gray went 34 yards on a run. It was 7-7 with 7 minutes to go till halftime. With 1:13 left before half, Denellen Curry again, but this time he found his tailback, Tony Tanner, a 54-yard touchdown pass. Denellen led 13-7 at the half. Marty, and just like last week, nobody scored second half.
Really?
Well, actually, it was the opposite of last week. 13-7, your final score. The Denellen Tigers are your FIT champions.
Yeah, you saw them play Palaca last week in a game. That was the semifinal matchup. Mm-hmm. And what was it? The no score at halftime in that game?
No score until 7.5 minutes to go left in the game.
Wow. So that was obviously Denellen's plays a pretty good defense. They're good defensively. They don't score a lot of points, but
yeah.
Well, and so they are the inaugural 1A through 3A FIT champions, Denellen Tigers. So congratulations to them. And they are in Marion County, so we cover that area. So that's a big story to report. But in that game last week,
so they finished 8-6, by the way. Yeah. North Miami finished the Pioneers. I had to look that up.
I didn't know that either.
Because North Miami is the Stingrays, I want to say.
Right.
North Miami Beach finished 6-7, which is also the same record that Palaca finished with.
Yeah, North Miami Beach and North Miami are two different schools. That's true.
Yeah.
And I think North Miami Beach, yeah, yeah, right. Those records aren't great, but I mean, it's kind of what you expect. Those teams had to were left out of the FHSAA playoffs. Denellen, I guess, was 4-6 coming in, so they won 4 games to get that title. And coming up tonight is the 4A through 7A matchup. Dr. Joaquin Garcia out of Miami, which is a fairly new school, I believe.
23
is taking on Tate. So it's a team from the Pensacola and the team from Miami, basically. So that will be, but that is in the Villages tonight as well. So Denellen
tomorrow you got Fort White and Port St. Joe in the early game.
That's right.
And then Hawthorne and Blountstown in the night game.
The rural state championship game. Yeah, that'll be the first of the FHSAA state champions to be crowned tomorrow night once again. And that Denellen Palaca game last week, was Corey was talking about, had 10 punts, 8 turnovers. Scoreless game until the fourth quarter. Denellen able to break through. Palaca returned the ensuing kickoff for a score, went for 2 and was stopped short. Denellen scored to go up 14-6. Palaca, apparently this is a 4th down to heave. Was it a Hail Mary?
Yeah, well, some people debate it's only a Hail Mary if it's the last play of the game. But yeah, essentially it was. I mean, he basically just heaved it. He scrambled and then just kind of threw it. And one of the tailbacks was left wide open, and he caught it. And they went for 2 again. They always have to go for 2 because they don't have a kicker. And I got to say, when they scored that first touchdown, it looked like they got the 2-point conversion, but the referees said no, he didn't score. So that kind of made a big difference there too. So they had to go for 2 again. And Tommy Alford, amazing player, senior, also plays basketball. He fumbled the snap. By the time he got the ball back, he was hit head on by about 3 people, and Denellen denied him on the 2-point conversion. There was only a minute left, so Palaka had to do an onside kick. It went out of bounds. Luckily, Palaka did have some timeouts left, so Denellen took a knee twice. Took 3 kneel downs, but Palaka called timeouts on all 3 plays. So on 4th down, there was probably like 7-8 seconds left, and we thought that Denellen was going to punt the ball, but actually the quarterback, Curry, that we just talked about, actually run around the field and actually ran a play and killed the remaining seconds on the clock, and Denellen held on to win 14-12.
All right, so Palaka, you didn't have a kicker, huh? Is that what you said?
No, they haven't had a kicker all year, and that's been kind of one of the issues that they've had to go for 2 every single.
So for Corey, football season's over. That was your last game this year.
Unfortunately, because I would have been at the Villages watching them play if they would won.
Yeah, and Denellen ends up winning the title either way. You got a chance to go to Denellen though. It's a long trip over there.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool place.
Yeah,
it's the middle of nowhere. It's the other side of Ocala. You go the opposite direction of 75.
It's basically in Citrus County. It's around the border.
So you're going closer to the Gulf of Mexico that way.
Yeah,
and it's horse country. And the coolest thing about that area that I found out was, and I told you this, Jeepers Creepers was filmed on the road the school and the football stadium were on.
Was it really? Okay, you did mention something about that. I kind of thought you were kidding, but that actually
it's actually the head coach actually on my Twitter account verified that they did film the movie there.
The road that goes to Denellen?
The road that goes to the high school.
The high school, I mean, yeah. Oh, that makes sense because they're
that road is like 5 miles long.
Yeah, you're not in the town of Denellen. You're not. No. You're about 5 or 10 miles from Denellen. But yeah, that's where that school is located. It's out there. But hey, they've always had a pretty good football program. So congratulations to the Denellen Tigers. And so let's take a look back at the rural classification. First, we'll look at the scores from last week. The FHSAA playoffs. In the rural classification, the semifinals, Blountstown, boy, they didn't have any problem with Pahokee at all. 30-3. A little surprised at that score, but Pahokee had to take a long trip up there to Blountstown after going to Perry the week before, to play Taylor County and beating them. So Blountstown gets the win, the number 1 seed. Their opponent tomorrow night's rural state championship game is the number 2 seed Hawthorne. Hawthorne had no problem either. 36-6 over Chiefland. I thought they might get a little bit tougher game from Chiefland, but no, Hawthorne, easy win for them. So the top 2 seeds are going to meet in that championship game, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I guess the seeding worked out in the rural classification, but Hawthorne, they are in the state championship for the 6th straight year under Cornelius Ingram.
Well, when the brackets came out, we knew that potentially that could be the matchup. Some people probably thought Madison County would have been there against Hawthorne because we've had that matchup, the last 2 years, I think.
Yeah, like 3 out of 4, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we knew Wilson and Chiefland would be in the mixed tube. But unfortunately they had to go through Hawthorne. And if they were on the other side of the bracket, not saying they would have beat Blountstown, but maybe they would have had a better chance. But as it was, Hawthorne eliminated Williston last week. Hawthorne beat Chiefland last week. And we're down to only 2 teams now.
Yeah, it should be a good ball game tomorrow night. We'll pick it later as well because we still have a few games to pick. Not a lot, but we do have.
We have 17 games.
Yeah, that's all that's left, and one of those will not be the Denellen North Miami Beach game anymore, as that's already happened. But yeah, we will look at the other games coming up a little bit later.
Well,
all the games that are left, in fact. Yeah,
I went ahead and gave us a win for that.
Oh, you did? Okay, because you said you assumed I would have taken Denellen. Yeah, I figured you would have as well. Yeah. But and by the way, you said tomorrow the the FIT, the rural FIT championship between Fort White
and Port St. Joe.
And Port St. Joe. And those are also, although it's a little different for this one because all the teams that dropped out, I don't know what the seedings mean, but it's the 1 and 2 seed there. Fort White's only had to play one game, though, to get to the state championship game here, as they had a bye in the semifinals since both Northview and Moorhaven dropped out. So we'll see how that affects them. Port St. Joe coming off a win over Holmes County. But that is tomorrow in the Villages. But looking back at last week's FHSAA playoffs first, in Class 1A, Trinity Christian, they rallied to beat University Christian 27-12. They were down 12-0 in this game in the first half, came back and won. So once again, Berlin Dorminey leading his Conquerors to the Final Four. And their opponent will be Chaminade Madonna, who may be the top team in the state. Chaminade beating True North Classical 35-14 in the other semifinal there. Meanwhile, Carrollwood Day edging Clearwater Central Catholic 30-28. They'll play Cardinal Newman in West Palm. Cardinal Newman going to St. Pete Catholic and winning 42-13. So our semifinal matchups, Trinity Christian at Chaminade Madonna and Carrollwood Day at Cardinal Newman, which I think is going to be a really good game. I don't know, Corey. It's hard for me to see Trinity beating Chaminade Madonna, but they were the last team that beat Chaminade Madonna back in 2020. Because Chaminade's won the last 4 state titles. They beat them in Tallahassee back then in 2020. But this is a Trinity team that started the year 1-4. They've really played well to get to this point, but it's going to be a tough assignment going down there to play that team.
If they were a more veteran team, I probably would give them a better chance. But it seems like this is a pretty young team. You know, they're lacking the 4 or 5 stars they normally have always had. And it seems like the last couple of years they've always been that way too. Seems like the better players that were normally going to Trinity are now probably going to Rains or Oakley somewhere else. But also remember, Chaminade beat True North. True North beat University Christian pretty bad. So
yeah, they did down there in Miami. You're right.
Larry Bluestein kept telling me, watch out for True North, you know, and unfortunately they got a bad matchup with Chaminade Madonna, but that's a game that likely was for the state championship last week.
Yeah, I would think so too. And although again, maybe Cardinal Newman could give them a game. I don't know. Cardinal Newman, a team that went down to the wire with Buholtz, who's playing the 6A semifinals coming up tomorrow night. But I would say Chaminade's a pretty hefty favorite there in what's those 4 teams, or whoever the 4 or the 2 that'll be left to play next week down in Miami. Class 2A last week, no problem for Bowles again, 44-10 at home against Pensacola Catholic. They keep rolling. And their opponent in the 2A semifinal tomorrow night will be Cardinal Gibbons out of Fort Lauderdale. Cardinal Gibbons on the road and beating Immaculata 17 out of Miami. Meanwhile, Cocoa does it to Bradford again, this time in Stark. A game that was 10-10 in the fourth quarter. Cocoa pulls out 17-10. Poor Bradford just can't get past Cocoa. But Cocoa now,
Cocoa scored in the final minute of the game.
Right, that's right. And that game was 10-0 for a long time. Yeah. Bradford tied it in the fourth quarter. Another defensive battle. Bradford just didn't quite have enough offense there. And Cocoa now, though, quite a test for them. They got to go to Cardinal Mooney, who is the number 1 seed in 2A, considered one of the top teams in the state of Florida. So if Cocoa is going to make another state championship game or win another state title, they're going to have to find a way to get past Cardinal Mooney. Meanwhile, as I said, Cardinal Gibbons at Bowles the 2 seed. So those are your 2A semifinals. And I think we're heading towards a
Bowles is home, by the way.
Yeah, Bowles is home. Cardinal Mooney. I think we're headed to a Bowles Cardinal Mooney showdown here next week in the state.
Okay.
We'll see what Cocoa has to say about that and Cardinal Gibbons.
All right. The game you were at.
Sorry, I think we. Go ahead. Were you talking? I think we cut out a second there.
I said the game. The game you were at. Next.
Do we have to?
Let's talk about that.
No, I don't really want to talk about
another running clock.
Yeah, this one, much like Bowles earlier in the year, was against Bishop Kenny. Well. One thing's for sure, it was cold Friday night because I sat outside for 4 hours and watched that. It was about 45 degrees out with a wind. And then Bishop Kenny, it was the same game like last year. They come out, score in a minute and a half, go up 7-0 on Rains. You're like, oh, well, hey, maybe this team can score. No, because then Rains puts 40-some straight points on them. I mean, Bishop Kenny turned it over once. They had 2 squib kicks that they fumbled that Rains recovered, so they got really good field position. It just snowballed as it usually does, and Rains is just too good. I mean, they are. The final ends up 61-15. So now Rains in the semifinals in 3A tomorrow night once again gets Sarasota Booker, who nearly beat Rains last year at Rains in the state semifinal round.
Yeah, we get a rematch. I remember that game. I wasn't there, but
sorry, I don't know what's going on here. All right. Anyway, so yeah, we get a rematch of last year's state semifinal. And then on the other side, Miami Northwestern beating up on their rival Central 50-29. That game was actually Saturday night at Travis Powell. And they will now host Bishop Moore, who got past O'Galley 31-28. Bishop Moore is going to be a big underdog in this game.
As it should be. We're likely heading for another Rains Northwestern rematch in the state championship game.
Yeah, but it said Booker took Rains to the limit about the last minute last year before Rains held on to win. So that's a team that has given them trouble. Like, and that game will be at Rains. Rains is the 2 seed, and Miami Northwestern is the 1 seed as they reseeded. Booker the 3, Bishop Moore the 4. So we'll see how that goes. But Rains, continues to roll. They're still unbeaten, and they are on a collision course for a rematch with Miami Northwestern. Class 4A, this one surprised me a little bit. Choctaw goes to St. Augustine and pulls this one out late, 31-28. So Choctaw, go ahead.
I wouldn't say I wasn't there, but from what I could tell, it came down to a controversial fumble. St. Augustine had the ball. They were driving. I believe they had the lead in the 4th quarter, and the video looks like the tailback's knee was down on the ground, and they give the Choctaw recovers the fumble after allegedly the tailback was down, and Choctaw goes on to score and takes the lead and wins the game. So controversial ending there for the Indians.
Yeah, as you said, Choctaw gets the win, and now they go home for the state semifinals. And how about this trip? American Heritage Plantation, the defending state champs, wins at Archbishop McCarthy 25-20. They reseed it. Choctaw is the 2 seed. American Heritage is the 3. American Heritage has got to go from Plantation, they're in Broward County, up to Fort Walton Beach to play on Friday night in the state semifinal round. Meanwhile, the 1 seed in 4A is Jones. They get past Lake Wales 24-7. They will host Port Charlotte, the 4 seed. This was an upset. Port Charlotte going into Tampa Jesuit, winning 22-21. Jesuit was the 1 seed in that region. So Port Charlotte advances to play Jones. It feels like we're heading, although I think Choctaw can beat American Heritage at home. On the other side, I got to think Jones is probably a pretty good favorite against Port Charlotte.
Well, I will say this. This is the one classification that when they reseeded the teams, I'd be curious to look at the numbers because American Heritage played a murder schedule. They are only 8-5.
You're about to say their record, it must not be.
They played a really tough schedule, which with Plantation American Heritage, you expect that because they typically play the St. Thomas, the Northwestern type of teams.
Yeah, they do. And they have, in fact, they are the, looks like they were the 3 seed in that region.
Yeah.
Came out of. So actually, no, they were the 2. My apologies. But, yeah, they had to go on the road and beat Archbishop McCarthy last week. It was the 1 seed.
Yeah.
And now they're going to have to go on the road again. Jones hasn't exactly been blowing out teams. They beat Deltona 35-13. They beat Vanguard 29-18. And then Lake Wales 24-7. So they're getting by. But Port Charlotte, again, is a team. They were the 2 seed in their region. And they had to And they had to beat, I don't know why that keeps going in and out, Clearwater. And then they went at Jesuit last week. That's a pretty big upset. And that Jesuit quarterback, by the way, Will Griffin, signed with UF yesterday. He did stick with that, but tough season, a tough way for Jesuit season to end there as well. So that's what we're looking at in 4A. Again, as you said, they reseeded with American Heritage the 3, Choctaw the 2, Jones the 1. So we'll see how that works out on Friday night as well. Class 5A, well, Ponte Vedra gets it done again, 27-10 over Daytona Beach Mainland. And now they get a trip to Lakeland. It'll be the 2 and the 3 seed. Lakeland, 2 seed. Ponte Vedra is the 3. Lakeland goes to Edgewater and wins there 27-14 to advance back to the state semifinals. And, of course, on the other side, as usual, it's St. Thomas Aquinas, the 1 seed. No problem with MacArthur, 34-7 in the region final last week, Region 4. Their opponent will be Riverdale out of Fort Myers. First time for them to go this far as they knocked off Manatee 28-26. So Riverdale at St. Thomas Aquinas, Riverdale is going to be a heavy underdog there. And Ponte Vedra at Lakeland, I'd say Ponte Vedra is an underdog. I think they are. But I think this is a winnable game for Ponte Vedra. This Lakeland team, has not been rolling. Lakeland team has not been rolling teams like normal. They beat Gaither 15-8. They beat Edgewater 27-14. Meanwhile, Ponte Vedra took care of Mainland. Really, their toughest game was Niceville in the first round. They went to OT.
Yeah, and I called that. I knew it was going to be a close game, but now they're got their toughest game of the year by far, having to go down to Lakeland and play in that environment.
Yeah, St. Thomas Aquinas again, looking I think for their 6th in a row. They set the state record, I believe, last year with 5, and they're going to be a favorite. I mean, even if they end up playing Lakeland, they beat Lakeland bad last year in the state championship. They're going to have a really, they'll be a heavy favorite to win there as well. As Aquinas won their 3 region games, 58-7, 45-13, and then 34-7 last week. So they haven't had any real issues to this point. As the winner of that, again, the 5A semifinals moves on to the state championship next week in 5A. That'll be a week from today, next Thursday night, 7:30. The schedule is kind of odd for the state finals. We'll talk about that a little bit. There's actually a game. First game is next Wednesday night, and if Bowles wins, Bowles and who's on the or Cardinal Mooney or whoever wins there, that'll be the 2A state championship game. Will be next Wednesday night down in Miami because they're gonna have 2 games each of the next 3 days. So that one will be next Wednesday. But
isn't there only 6 classifications left, right?
No, there's 7.
7. Okay.
Oh wait, there'll be no because it's 1A through 7A. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's 7.
Okay. All right.
Meanwhile, in 6A, this was a classic at Citizens Field. Buchholz comes back. They are up. They fall behind. They come back late and hold off Mandarin 27-20. So the number 1 seed, Buchholz, they'll be back home at Citizens Field in another state semifinal. 5th year in a row, the state semifinals for the Buchholz Bobcats. And this year, they will be home again, this time hosting West Broward, as West Broward went to Southridge and won their 30-27 on the road. West Broward coming out as the 2 seed of Region 4. And on the other side, Armwood, the number 2 seed now, 42-0 over Southlake. And they will host West Boca Raton, the defending state champions who come out of Region 3. They're the 2 seed there. Palmetto was the 1 seed. West Boca beating Mitchell 41-3, who was the 5 seed in that region. So 1 seed Buchholz hosts the 4 seed West Broward, the 2 seed Armwood against the 3 seed West Boca. By the way, Armwood in 3 regional games has outscored their opponents 134-0. They have not a lot of point. Now, that being said, I'm not really sure Region 2 is exactly the toughest region. Now, on the other hand, I think Buchholz's region was the toughest region in this class.
By far, yeah, because you had Mandarin, you had Nice,
yeah.
You had Oakley.
Oviedo was the 8th seed.
Yeah. You had Pace.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that definitely was. And Oviedo, yeah.
Who took Buchholz really to the wire in that first round game. And then Pace nearly beat Mandarin in the region semifinal round as well. So, Buchholz, again, they'll be home as they try to advance to their first state championship game since they won their only state title back in 1990. Armwood, we haven't heard from them in a while, really, but they have come back this year. But again, they've beaten Melbourne, Vieira, and Southlake by a combined 134-0 to win Region 2.
I do know they are 13-0 going into that game Friday night.
They are. They are. Yeah. Now, I question the schedule. Buchholz is 12-1. So as well. But on the other side, again, you got the defending state champ West Boca. So Armwood's going to have a tough assignment with West Boca, and West Broward also a pretty good team, 11-2, going to play Buchholz as well. Class 7A, this surprised me a little bit. I had DeLand. I thought DeLand title game maybe win it. They lose to Lake Mary 40-31. So seed in Region 1, they are knocked out by by Lake Mary. Lake Mary now moves on. And as the 2 seed, they're going to host Venice. That's going to be a tough one. Venice, a 41-22 win over Sumner, and that's in Region 2 there. So Venice, the 3 seed, and Lake Mary, the 2 seed. Meanwhile, the 1 seed is Vero Beach, as they had no problem with Dr. Phillips from Orlando, 49-23. And their opponent's going to be Palmetto. Palmetto comes in now, the 4 seed, and they defeated Barbara Goldman High 65-41. So if you look at Palmetto, they win Region 4 down in South Florida. Their 3 games, they scored 42, 27, and 65 points. Meanwhile, Goldman, that team that they beat, Goldman had scored 30. They scored 56 and then 41 and lost. So, yeah, obviously a lot of points down there.
Yeah.
But DeLand, a little surprised. DeLand loses at home to Lake Mary.
That definitely was one of the shockers last week. I think everybody penciled in DeLand to play for a state title, and Lake Mary said, not so fast. But they are the defending state runners-up, so it's not like they lack the postseason run from, they had a run last year, so they're used to kind of being, going that far, and here they are back in the Final Four again, and they're 1 win away from playing for another state title.
Yeah, they are the Lake Mary Rams as they get the win at DeLand, and again, they will now be at home on Friday night against Venice. That's going to be a heck of a game. Venice again gets through their region, as we're kind of used to that with them in 7A. This is the North Florida High School Football Gridiron Report. Marty Pallman, Corey Davis with you here this Thursday afternoon as we update our earlier game. We're also going to preview the rest of the games coming up this week and then next week. But again, I guess we only have about 2 more shows here. We'll do next week to preview the state championship games, and then the following week or somewhere right before Christmas, we'll wrap it up because the season's over in 2 next week.
That's hard to believe.
It is hard to believe. We're in basketball season now. I actually got to go do a basketball broadcast tonight. So heading to Williston for Gainesville High and Williston tonight. So
I had to cover wrestling last night. So
I saw that. That's one of the reasons why Corey couldn't do the show last night. Corey had to go cover some wrestling.
Well,
how did that go, by the way?
They were working the dog out of me yesterday too. It wasn't just because I had to cover.
Yeah.
Was that last night?
I thought it was Tuesday. I don't know.
Wrestling was Tuesday night, but I had so much other crap to do yesterday that I just had no time to do.
Well, it's okay because this week has been Tuesday night. I was at the Gainesville Quarterback Club. They had the awards for the area of Gainesville here for the high school football awards. So they invited us out there. Mike Rideout and I helped vote for that. Justin Williams of Buchholz won the Offensive Player of the Year, and also from Buchholz, Evan Walker won the Defensive Player of the Year. Coach of the Year was Ernest Graham of Santa Fe, so it was good for him. I think he well deserved. And after leading Santa Fe to the playoffs, considering they had won 2 games in 4 years before that, and then they had their Scholar Athlete of the Year was awarded to Aaron Akins of Oak Hall, who was the quarterback that helped lead Oak Hall to their 3A FHSAA championship. So we had a lot of fun. Chance to hang out there at the Best Western Gateway Grand, and then yesterday we were around town with signings for signing day. Mike was at Buchholz. He with Justin Williams signed with Florida, and Evan Walker signed with Central Michigan. I was over at Eastside actually. Their fine linebacker DeMarco Daniels signed at Delaware. So it's been an interesting week. A lot going on, and we still have big football games Friday night. And I'll be at Citizens Field tomorrow night for that Buchholz West Broward game. And you can find it on NFHS Network. It's going to be a video broadcast tomorrow night at 7:30. And Mike Rideout will do his game of the week from the Villages, Hawthorne and Bluntstown, the Rural State Championship game tomorrow night. He'll be down there for that. So we will be all over the place again tomorrow as well. As we look ahead now to some of the matchups coming up, Again, as we said already today in the FIT 1A through 3A, that was up the Villages. Denellen defeating North Miami Beach 13-7. Denellen wins the FIT 1A through 3A title. Tonight in FIT 4A through 7A, Tate 10-3 against Dr. Joaquin Garcia 10-3 at 7 o'clock. And then tomorrow's games, the FIT Rural Championship, Fort White, who's 7-4, probably should have been in the regular FHSAA playoffs, takes on Port St. Joe 6-5. That'll be the 1 o'clock game. And then tomorrow night, the Rural Championship game, FHSAA Rural, Hawthorne, who's 10-1, Bluntstown unbeaten at 12-0. That'll be a 7 o'clock kick tomorrow night from the Villages. So, yeah, Bluntstown just got by Madison County in that second round, but they got past them by 1 point. And as you said, knocked Madison County out. Otherwise, we probably would have a Madison County Hawthorne matchup again in the state title game. But Bluntstown is kind of first time Bluntstown has been in the state title game since 2019, where they gave up 70 points to Madison County, who beat them in that championship game. So they're back for the first time in a while.
The one thing, they got good this year because actually my boss, Mark Blumenthal, actually told me this yesterday, threw it in my column at the last minute. Bluntstown's coach is a former Crescent City coach. He only coached here for 1 year back in 2013.
Oh, wow.
That was back when they had the 1B, 2B playoff system.
Right.
And I can't remember the guy's name, but he's the coach of Bluntstown. And so Mark was like, oh, interesting little nugget there. But Bluntstown got 25 transfers this year. So that's one of the big reasons why they're so good this year is because obviously not all 25 start, but that's a lot of added extra depth.
Right.
Because 1A schools and rural schools, most teams probably only have like 40 kids. So you bring an extra 25 in, that's like doubling your roster.
Yeah.
Almost doubling your roster.
And don't get me, right.
But my only question is, I would have to look at their schedule. Outside of Madison County, yes, Pokey's been traditionally pretty good. They played every single playoff game at home, just like Hawthorne has. I would prefer teams go on the road and play a playoff game. I think that's one of the reasons why Buchholz has been so good the last couple of years. It's because outside of the Final Four, when the last time Buchholz had to go on the road for a playoff game? It seems like every important playoff game Buchholz has had has been at home.
That's because their regular season record has been really good, and they've been the 1 seed. That's true.
Right. Well,
in fact, I think the last postseason game they had on the road was 2 years ago. I think they went to Bartram Trail and won in the region final. That has been. You're right. It's been a while.
Until recently, teams had no team would host every single playoff game. Eventually, a team would have to go on the road. It was written in the brackets. I think it was the state semifinals or regional final. If one team had been on the road so many times, the other team had been home so many times, regardless if they were a district runner-up, they got to host that game. And I kind of think we need to eventually go back to that because, yes, you earn home field advantage, but does it help you in the long run if you played every game at home and then you have to go on the road and play them really important? Because if Buchholz had to go to West Broward, would you give Buchholz a chance to win that game?
Yeah, a chance. I mean, they've already gone down to South Florida once this year and won against Cardinal Newman, but I mean, it's a different opponent.
And that's why
I think they have a chance.
That's why he loads his schedule up with Cardinal Newman. Trying to think.
They played Vero Beach this year. They played Vero.
Right. Yeah. That's why he loads up his schedule like that, because you need to get your team prepared for the playoffs. And a lot of teams do that and a lot of teams don't. And it shows when you get in the playoffs and who's really played good teams and who hasn't, because, the teams that don't play good schedules can get knocked out in the first or second round.
Yeah. And I could say the same thing about the Reigns Vikings. They've been on home for like a few years. Bowls, on the other hand, Bowls went on the road last year, a few games. In fact, they lost in the region final. They've had to go on the road for state semifinals.
I would love to see this Reign team have to go to Booker. Yeah. Like Booker came to you last year. You should be going to Booker this year.
Well, that's the way that used to be. Well, I mean, okay. I'm going to go back in time a little bit to a time long ago when Corey Davis and Marty Pallman were in high school, back in the early 90s. And Orange Park High in 1992 was the number one team in 6A most of that year. Was it 6A or 5A at the time? It was 5A, wasn't it?
5A, yeah, 5A.
We were in 5A. We haven't even got to 6A yet. Then we got to 7A, 8A, 9A. But anyway, Orange Park that year had to go on the road 3 games, including going to Manatee.
We hosted Niceville in round 1.
Right.
We went to Mainland in round 2.
How'd they figure that out? How'd they figure Orange Park?
I don't know, because this was before the internet. There, to my knowledge, we didn't know who we were playing until coaches told us. There was no bracket. There was, it's funny because now we got brackets, we got the internet. You can easily look up and see who your next opponent was.
Yeah.
As we were playing, we didn't know that.
Right.
So it wasn't until Monday or late Friday night who we were playing the next round. But yeah, we hosted Niceville, went to Mainland, and then went to Manatee.
That's true. You wouldn't have even known until Monday because we didn't have cell phones and of course back in the old days. And yeah, you wouldn't even know until you got to practice Monday, probably, right?
I mean,
you were playing.
We did have the scoreboard show.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you had the newspaper and TV and that kind of stuff.
But as a player, we didn't know what the bracket looked like. We didn't know who if we won that game, who our next opponent was going to be. We had no idea because we didn't have access to a bracket. So we had to go on the road. In fact, I remember being at practice going, we're number one team in the classification. Why are we going on the road twice? We should be at home. And now number one teams, Buchholz and Rains and Hawthorne and Bluntstown.
St. Thomas never leaves their home.
Yeah, they never have to go on the road.
Yeah.
And I think that's an unfair advantage for teams because eventually you're going to have to go on the road and go play in a hostile environment. And in fact, I will bring this up when we get to our picks, and it makes a huge difference when you finally have to go on the road and play a playoff game.
Yeah, I think it does too. And, this is something to talk to Craig Dame and the FHSAA about because I would be interested to see if they'll change it. I think that they like giving the number one seeds the home field just because they're number one seeds. But, I mean, that's what I'm saying. And then 1992 season, I guess I could understand maybe going to Manatee. I couldn't figure out why they went to Mainland because Mainland was like, I'm not even ranked or they were ranked pretty low, I think. I know they didn't base it on the ranking.
Well, no, back then it was based on, from what I was told, it was based on the top and the bottom part of the bracket.
Right. That's right.
And whoever was on the top or the bottom that particular year got to host regardless of who would have been playing in the game.
And that's the way they used to do most sports.
The only exception would have been like Parker played Mainland in round 1. We actually wanted to play Parker because we wanted to play Stephen Mosley. And because that's all we heard that year was Stephen Mosley from Parker. And had Parker won, we would have been home against Parker.
Yeah. Okay. So
because they were the
runner-up or something. Or?
No, actually, no.
There weren't any runners-up.
They were district champions. So no, actually, we would have gone to Parker regardless.
Oh, really?
Okay.
We didn't have district runners-up yet.
Right. It wasn't until like
94, 95, I think.
4 or 95.
They started having wild cards, I remember. But the mid-90s. So anyway, just to look back in time, that's why I'm curious about that. But I understand what you're saying. And I'm curious about it as well. All right, Class 7A semifinals. We said Miami Palmetto 11-2 at Vero Beach 13-0. Vero Beach the 1 seed. The number 3 seed Venice 9-3 at the number 2 seed Lake Mary is 10-3 in 6A. Number 4 seed West Broward 11-2 at the number 1 seed Gainesville Buchholz 12-1. And the number 3 seed West Boca Raton 11-2 at the 2 seed Armwood 13-0. That game will be in Seffner. 5A Fort Myers Riverdale, the 4 seed. Maybe a surprise. They're 12-1, and they take on the 1 seed Fort Lauderdale St. Thomas Aquinas, who's also 12-1, and the 3 seed Ponte Vedra 11-2 at the 2 seed Lakeland 11-2. Class 4A, 4 seed Port Charlotte 11-2 at the number 1 seed Orlando Jones 11-2, and the number 3 seed Plantation American Heritage, who's now I think 8-5 at the number 2 seed Fort Walton Beach Choctaw 12-1. Class 3A. 3 seed Sarasota Booker 12-1 at the 2 seed Reigns 12-0 in Jacksonville on Friday night, and the 4 seed Orlando Bishop Moore 12-1 at the 1 seed Miami Northwestern, who is also 12-0. Class 2A, Cocoa, who is the 4 seed 8-4, will travel to Sarasota to take on Cardinal Mooney, the 1 seed 12-1, and the number 3 seed Fort Lauderdale Cardinal Gibbons, who's 10-3 at the 2 seed Bowls 12-1 in Jacksonville on Friday. And in Class 1A, Jacksonville Trinity Christian 9-4, the 4 seed at Chaminade Madonna, the number 1 seed who's 10-2, and the number 3 seed Tampa Carrollwood Day unbeaten at 12-0 at the number 2 seed West Palm Beach Cardinal Newman, who's 10-3. So that is a look at those matchups coming up. All those will be Friday night. And, of course, again, as we said, the rural final tomorrow night, rural championship game, the FIT rural tomorrow. And one more game tonight is the 4A through 7A FIT championship between Tate and Dr. Joaquin Garcia. So, hey, that's it. Those are all the games we have left here in high school football.
That's correct.
That's right.
So Marty, who do you like between Denellen and North Miami Beach?
Yeah, I'm going to say Denellen. I like Denellen. We're going back in time a little bit there.
Yeah.
I'll take Denellen.
Okay.
I think we both decided we were going to take Denellen, so we gave ourselves a victory in the pick. So let's go ahead. First of all, of course, our weekly results. And let's see how that's going.
Well, unfortunately, because I'm working from home today, I left that notebook at work. But let's just say you have like a 20-game lead in high school.
It didn't change much, huh?
No, I mean, you've been killing me for weeks.
Well, we can update it next week. Maybe.
Yeah, I will update it and send you a text of what the overall record is as we go into next week, because we will be down to 7 games.
7 games. Yeah,
7 games next week.
That's right. Yeah. And actually, we'll be back, and we will be back to regular next Wednesday from 8 to 9. Plan on being a beat for Brady's and Stark. We were planning on it this week too, but we'll see if that happens. But by the way, during that show will be the 2A state championship game. So we may have to make a pick early on for whoever who's in that one, because that game will be going on in the middle of our show next week. So,
okay.
And then the next other 6 games of the rest of the week. So, all right, let's go ahead. I'm going to let Corey start with the picks this week.
All right. We got Pensacola Tate and Lake Worth, Dr. How do you say it? Joaquin?
Dr. Joakim Noah.
Joaquin.
Dr. Joaquin Garcia.
Joaquin Garcia.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Interesting note, when we were doing golf, we had a local kid from Placa. He actually played for Pinal last year, but he played for Placa this year because Pinal didn't have golf this year. And he made it all the way to the state tournament, and he ended up finishing 4th. And among the people that were in that golf tournament, pretty sure it was golf. It could have been cross country, but pretty sure it was golf, was Garcia. And we're like, oh, what school is this? And like I said, they opened up in 2023. So
2 years, yeah.
Yeah, they've only been in existence for year 3 now.
Yeah.
But with that said, I like the Tate team. Tate has been rolling. They've been at home every single week. I mean, they beat up on Bartram. They didn't beat up on Bartram. They won a close game with Bartram. They beat First Coast. Tate's rolling. I'm going with Tate.
Oh yeah, knowing absolutely nothing about these teams. Honestly, we're just rolling in here doing these picks. This is gonna be a little more challenging because we got statewide teams that we may have followed as much. But I tend to agree with you. I think Tate will win this game. I mean, it sounds like they're pretty even, but I would say a little more battle tested. Maybe Tate, the Tate Aggies, by the way, they're the Aggies.
Mm-hmm.
It's like ATM, Texas A&M.
And technically, they're not. We call them Pensacola Tate because that's what everybody
Cantonment.
does. But yeah, it's Cantonment. And I remember when I was in
used
school,
to be Gonzales.
Gonzales, Gonzales Tate too. Yeah.
It changed at some point to Cantonment, but yeah, it's in the Pensacola. It's in outside Pensacola basically. But yeah, so Tate. We both have Tate in that one. All right. Tomorrow's game, Fort White 7-4 and Port St. Joe 6-5. That's the rural FIT championship.
Okay, this game really concerns me for Fort White because Fort White got a bye in round 1. They played Wildwood in round 2. They put a running clock on Wildwood, like 51-0. I think that game was. Yeah. Then because other teams backed out, In round 3, they got another bye, which means they automatically advance to the state not the state
49-0 they beat Wildwood, yeah. And then
they automatically advance to the championship game.
Moorhaven and Northview had byes, and then they decided to drop out. Yeah.
So Port St. Joe played last week. Fort White probably been practicing for 2 weeks for this game, but not knowing who they were going to play until this Monday, because they had to wait on the Port St. Joe Holmes County game. Sitting for 2 weeks, I'm kind of concerned about that. Port St. Joe's, a team that's always been in the playoffs, and especially in rural or 1A.
The Sharks, yes.
I mean, I'm probably going to pick Fort White because they have been so dominant, but it does concern me that they've been sitting for 2 weeks.
Yeah, Fort White, as you said, got a bye. They beat Wildwood, then they got another bye. Port St. Joe had a bye. They beat Milton Central 37-0, and then Holmes County 33-20. But yeah, I understand that. But I look at this. I think Fort White's the best team here. I mean, they probably should have been in the FHSAA playoffs. Yeah, it's a little concerning that they haven't played. They've only played once in the last 3-4 weeks. But I'm going to go with Demetric Jackson's Fort White Indians to win this tomorrow. Tomorrow at 1, that game is, by the way. All right. Now the rural championship. Hawthorne 10-1, Bluntstown 12-0.
I know Bluntstown's coming in here undefeated, fully confident, especially after that win against Madison. But to be the man, you got to beat the man. And Hawthorne has been in this position, 6 years in a row now?
6 years in a row, yeah. They've won 2.
Yeah. But they had to go through Madison a couple times. I remember they lost.
They played Madison 3 times, yeah.
And then they lost to somebody else from over there on the Panhandle.
They were 1-2 against Madison, and Baker beat them.
Baker, yeah.
First year they made it there, they played Baker, and then they beat Madison 1 year to win it, and then they beat Northview another year to win their other title.
So I'm going to go with Hawthorne to win it.
Yeah, and obviously I see Hawthorne a lot being in this area, living around Gainesville, but I think this is a team that I'm not going to pick against them unless they were playing Madison. Again, I would have said maybe that. Even this year, I think this is a Hawthorne team that has 1 loss. That was to Oakleaf. I mean, who's a 6A team, so I can't fault them for that. I like Hawthorne too. I know it's not at home. Hawthorne, by the way, hasn't lost a home game in like 6 years either. Yeah. That's why, again, they've had all their playoff games at home as well. With the exception of having to go to Newberry last year. No, they beat Newberry at home. They had to go to Williston a couple years ago. Right. But other than that, they've been at home. But anyway, I also like Hawthorne. I think CI will win his 3rd state title. Bluntstown's really good, but I think Hawthorne's better. Especially because of the schedule Hawthorne plays. All right, so that'll move us back to the 7A semifinals. Miami Palmetto 11-2 at Vero Beach 13-0.
I was just down there about a month ago, actually, for the volleyball college state championships. Right. Yeah, I was not too far from there. And one thing I do know about Vero Beach, that's a very tough place to play. They've always been really good. I know Palmetto is loaded with athletes. I know they've been recently, the last 5 or so years, been really good. But give me the beach.
Yeah, I agree. I think Vero Beach, in fact, they're my favorite to win this year. 13-0. They've been around either the number 1 or number 2 team in the state all year, and they are the number 1 seed. So I like Vero Beach as well. Venice 9-3 at Lake Mary 10-3.
I know Lake Mary's coming off a huge win against DeLand, but Venice traditionally plays a tremendous schedule. I think we talked about, was that Venice played Buchholz? Or was that Vero Beach? No. Yeah, Vero Beach, right? Marty? Alrighty.
Yeah, sorry, it cut out again. I didn't hear that part.
I was talking about, was it Buchholz played Vero or Venice?
Vero. They played Vero.
Okay. But typically Venice plays a really tough schedule too. I remember, and Venice has been in this position many times. I remember watching them play Bartram Trail in the state championship game one year. I'm going with Venice.
Yeah, I mean, Lake Mary beating DeLand kind of gave me pause because I thought that was a pretty big win. But Venice is a team that's usually pretty battle tested, as you said. And even though this is on the road, I tend to agree with you. I think Venice. I think we're gonna have a Vero Venice final in 7A. Venice. I like Venice to win as well. All right, down to 6A. West Broward 11-2 at Gainesville Buchholz 12-1 that Friday night at Citizens Field.
Well, I just talked about it. If this game was at West Broward, I might think different. But the fact they're playing at home again, it's hard to go against Buchholz.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not going to go against Buchholz now. I mean, I had them in the state championship game in 6A. Finally. Now, this is the round they haven't made past. If they get past this one, kind of feels like maybe they'll win the whole thing. But although there's going to be probably West Boca or Armwood on the other side, I'll have something to say about it. But I like Buchholz in this game. They haven't lost a game they lost one game at Citizens Field this year to Vero Beach. It's been a while. As you said, they haven't lost a playoff game at Citizens Field since, last year's state semifinal game, actually. They lost to Osceola. But we'll see. I think it's the time Buchholz finally gets over that hump. Boca Raton 11-2 at Armwood 13-0.
I'm looking up the schedule right now to see who they have played.
Go ahead.
No, I'm here. I'm here.
Go ahead. Sorry, it's cutting in and out.
Well, let's just say that Armwood has not had a competitive game since September 5th. Their first three games: Gaither 38-21, Sumner 31-14, Tampa Bay Tech 28-7. Marty, that was the last competitive game they have had. Every game since then has been 45-2, 56-7, 40-0, 49-0, 58-0. Wharton 49-0. Riverview, hey, they have actually a lot of touchdowns. 49-7. Melbourne 43-0. Vieira, I mean, they have not been in a competitive game. And they're going up against a team that is the defending state champions. Give me West Boca.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, I kind of think that as well. I question Armwood's schedule a bit, and West Boca has been rolling teams too. Go ahead.
Well, normally I would say Plant, probably the best game on their schedule, but I'm not sure. Let me look up Plant's record.
I don't even think they made the playoffs this year.
Plant was 5-6, so
maybe they lost the first round. Yeah,
even this year, you really can't say, they beat a really good Plant team.
They lost to Southlake in the first round, 37-36. So in 6A, right? Yeah. So, I don't know. This is a tough one. I don't like picking Armwood against Armwood at Armwood, but in this case, I think you're right. The defending state champs, West Boca, I think they may be a better team. So I'm going to go with you as well. I like West Boca Raton.
By the way, that's one of the coolest stadiums. If you're on I-4, the stadium is literally right next to the interstate. You can't miss it. It's that and Strawberry Crest is right off the I-4 too, but it's kind of a little further back off the interstate.
Sorry. Actually, sorry about that. Strawberry Crest actually is right on the interstate too. Right.
Yeah, but the stadium is further back. It's not literally right next to the stadium. I mean,
no, their baseball fields up at the stadium. But the school itself is there. Now, Armwood, it's funny about Armwood too. Not only is Armwood on I-4, it's pretty much right at the intersection of I-4 and I-75. I think it's like a half mile. Like it literally is in that area. But as you said, all right, 5A. Only a few more minutes left in our show tonight. College football gridiron reports coming up right after this as well. Here on North Florida Sports Talk, coming up in 5A, Fort Myers Riverdale 12-1 at St. Thomas Aquinas 12-1. I don't know if we need a whole lot of time on this one, honestly.
I think we need to cruise through these because we need to get ready for college.
I've got Aquinas.
An STA,
and Ponte Vedra at Lakeland 11-2 and 11-2.
Hostile environment. Ponte Vedra is not ready for Lakeland.
You know what? I'm going to take Ponte Vedra. I'm going to go out on a limb on this one. I have a feeling Lakeland. I know it is a hostile place, but I think Ponte Vedra has a chance to win this game. So I'll take Ponte Vedra there on the road. Port Charlotte.
I'm taking Jones in the next game.
Yeah, I've got Jones over Port Charlotte. American Heritage Plantation at Choctaw.
I know we're making a long trip, but I think that schedule is going to pay off. Give me American Heritage.
Yeah, that is a long trip. Choctaw's win at St. Augustine I thought was pretty big, but yeah, you know what, I'm gonna take Choctaw. I think it's gonna be a little bit too much. That trip. I'll take Choctaw to win that game. That's 4A, by the way, we're talking about. All right,
Mm-hmm.
3A, Sarasota, Booker, and Reigns in
I know.
Jacksonville.
I know Booker would love to get revenge, but this Reigns team is playing too well. Give me Reigns.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, I've seen Reigns play last week. Booker's good, and they gave him a game last year, but I think Reigns wins that as well. Bishop Moore, Miami Northwestern. I've got Northwestern.
Yeah, no brainer there. Give me the West.
Yeah, we'll see Northwestern and Reigns again next week with the 3A title. Coco at Sarasota, Cardinal Mooney. Interesting game
Well,
here in 2A.
I know who you're going with, and I'm actually leaning the other way. You're going with Mooney. I'm going with Coco.
Yeah, well, I didn't pick them last week. I had Bradford winning that, but still, but I mean, Cardinal Mooney has been the number one team in 2A all year for a reason. Again, another another road trip for Coco
But
across the
Coco
state.
has experience, and they won like 13 consecutive regional titles.
Now, keep in mind, Cardinal Mooney won the state title just 2 years ago too. So yeah,
Yeah.
they got some experience. I'm going to go with Cardinal Mooney here. I think they're going to win that game at home as well. Cardinal Gibbons at Bowles.
I'm going with Bulls. We're at home.
Yeah, long trip for Cardinal Gibbons from South Florida. And I think Bowles is going to win this class. I've said that before. I think they beat Cardinal Mooney if they play him, but I like Bowles as well. Finally, 1A, Trinity Christian, Shaman Amadana. I'd love to pick Trinity Christian here, but there's no way I can pick Trinity Christian in this game.
Yeah, Chaminade Madonna.
Yeah, I've got Chaminade as well. And then finally, Tampa Carrollwood Day at West Palm Beach, Cardinal Newman. This is going to be an interesting game between these two teams.
I'm going to go with Cardinal Newman.
I'm going to take, yeah, I think Cardinal Newman at home. I think they're a good team. I think they have a chance maybe against Chaminade. Not they're going to beat them, but I'll take Cardinal Newman as well. All right. That's it. We got through all those. So we'll check. We'll see next week when we come back. We'll have last week's results and this week's results. We'll figure that out as well. As again, next week we'll return to our regular time from 8 to 9 o'clock at right now at Beaver Brazen and Stark. That's the plan again next week. All right, that will do it for tonight for our high school football gridiron report this afternoon. And coming up, our college football gridiron report for Corey Davis. I'm Marty Pallman saying so long. Enjoy the semifinal games Friday and the high school championships tomorrow night. And we will talk to you again next week to preview the rest of the state championship games for 2025. That's it. Good night.